This is GARIS Masculist MGTOW flyers. That is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 117, entitled MGTOW/Masculist Differences Between First and Second Halver Men. Description. This flyer lists some different options that second Halver, that is older than 40, MGTOWs Masculists have, compared with first Halver, that's less than 40, MGTOWs Masculists. Flyer itself. MGTOW Masculist differences between first and second Halver men. I know that most MGTOWs are in their 20s and 30s, so by definition are first Halvers, that is under 40, living the first half of their lives. I'm in the last decade or two of my second Halver period, so from time to time I get frustrated that MGTOW masculism is neglecting the interests and needs of second Halver men, who after all make up half the male population. In practice, when I write my flyers, I imagine that I'm writing largely to men younger than my own son, who is 40 this year. So I wrote this a year or so ago. Okay. But occasionally I like to write about second Halver men's issues, since I'm one myself, and there may be a few second Halver MGTOW/Masculists out there who might read what I write. This flyer is devoted to the differences in the lives of first and second Halver MGTOW/Masculist men. The ideas it contains might be interesting for first Halver MGTOW/Masculists because they may paint a picture of what their lives might be like in their second Halver period. So what are the biggest differences between the lifestyles of first and second Halver MGTOW/Masculists? I think the biggest difference concerns women. Second Halver women are infertile, so they're not going to be sexploiting you to have babies and have you pay for them. They might try to get you to pay for some other man's kids that she has had already, but such an option is very unpopular with men in general, so tends not to happen much. A single mother is virtually undateable by male standards. Another major difference for second Halver MGTOW/Masculists is that second Halver women tend to be economically established. Most of the women I dated in the US in the 2000s, about a dozen of them over a 5-year period, were FIPS. Of course, I chose them to be FIPS. They had their own house, car, careers, often with mortgages nearly paid off, kids out the door, and wanted only companionship and orgasms from a man. They were also post-menopausal, which is a huge plus for a man. He doesn't have to put up with the hormonal craziness of a younger pre-menopausal woman who flies off the handle emotionally when she is PMS, premenstrual syndrome, that is moody and irrational. So for a second Halver MGTOW/Masculists, he needs to make a decision concerning women, on whether he likes female company enough to overcome the disadvantage of women's negative psychology. He can always twetwef, that is, have a relationship with a second Halver woman who stays in her own house, and they see each other on a regular basis, mostly for sex and some regular company. As with first Halver MGTOW/Masculists, twetwefing forces the woman to remain nice to the man, otherwise he just quietly walks away. MGTOW/Masculists in their 60s and over lose their libido for the most part, so are no longer, quote, cunt-driven. That is, no longer give time and energy chasing down pussy. This can be truly liberating for a lot of second Halver men. If they're tired of putting up with female behaviours and attitudes, then once their libido dries up, they have the realistic option to cut women out of their personal lives almost entirely. My father, for example, had such a bitchy wife who nagged him to death that when she died rather young, at age 66, he chose to be MGTOW since then. He's still alive, and at 97 in 2016, so 98 now. He has had almost nothing to do with women all that time, except his daughter, who is genetically closest to him. I may go the same way. In 2017, I'll be 70, speaking now, just a few months away. And my libido has shrunk greatly compared to a decade ago. Since I can't share my intellectual interests, pure math, physics, philosophy, with women, women have almost no interest for me. I have a wife, but we talk only a few minutes each day together, so effectively I live alone with my intellectual interests to fill my day, or night. In practice, I'm a MGTOW, a MGTOW, man going mostly his own way. Yet, I do notice that the happiest of couples are often aged. Second Harver women in their 60s and up are hormonally almost like men, so their brains are not screwed up like a first Harver woman's by her monthly hormones, making her unhuman for a few days each month. It's much easier to have a relationship with a man-like, calm woman, whether living together or in a tway-twef relationship, than a first Harver woman. So the chasm between the sexes that exists for second Harvers is much narrower and shallower than that for first Harver MGTOW/Masculists. So some second Harver MGTOW/Masculists may choose to have nothing to do with women, like my father, or choose to relate to them better than they could with first Harver women, because second Harver women are calmer, more reasonable, because hormonally they are more like men, more stable, less PMS, shitty bitchy. So, first Harver MGTOW/Masculists, you should be conscious that in the second half of your lives, things will change for you. You'll have a greater range of options with women. You can totally ignore them and not feel cunt hungry, or you can relate with them more easily because they are more man-like hormonally. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. YouTube channel name de GARIS Masculist MGTOW Flyers. Ciao.